Brazil just beat Japan, and if you watch that game, you already know this is not the same Brazil we have seen at the last few World Cups.
For this team and possibly for the next 4 or 5 years, we have to put the old history of what Brazil have to one side because they play a different brand of football. It's very pragmatic. They make changes now, and we called it at half-time, and not to give ourselves a pat on the back too much, but it looked like a very simple game plan. Move from left to right, take your players on 1v1, but most importantly, put crosses in the box, make these Japanese defenders defend, and as soon as they did that, the goals came. Vinicius, as soon as they scored the goal, by the way, everyone then wanted the ball. So you have to start saying, was there a pressure element there as well? Because Vinicius Jr., we never seen him until about the 60th minute. And as soon as we see him, he's nutmegging, he's going because he's trying to get the crowd up now because it's 1-1 and he feels he can be the hero. Ultimately, ended up being Martinelli, but it was a good game.
Japan are one of the most organized, hardest to break down teams in this entire tournament. They knocked Germany out in 2022. They beat Spain in 2022.
Japan and Spain.
And they came into this World Cup with a defensive structure that had already caused serious problems for teams far better than people give them credit for. Brazil beat them anyway, but what really caught my attention was not just the result. It was how this squad looks from 1 to 11, and even beyond that onto the bench. Vinicius.
He wants to be in the mix with the big stars, so he gave us 2 goals yesterday. He wants to shine just like the other ones, and Brazil had a good game, and their main guy, Vinicius Jr., showed up again and scored 2 goals. And Carlo Ancelotti, he knows exactly what he's doing. They didn't have the best start, but they're getting better and better. And it's not how you start, it's how you finish. They need those players to make a difference.
Cunha, Endrick, Neymar, Paquetá. And that is before we even get into the defensive structure Ancelotti has built behind them. I genuinely cannot remember the last time Brazil came to a World Cup with this much quality spread across every single position. And that is exactly what we are going to get into today. How good this Brazil squad actually is, what Ancelotti has changed, and most importantly, what they need to do to go all the way and win this tournament. Because the talent is clearly there. The question is whether everything else is there too. To understand why this Brazil squad feels different, you need to go back to the last time they had a team this good. 2002, South Korea and Japan. And Brazil did not just win that World Cup. They won every single game they played. 7 matches, 7 wins, 18 goals scored, 4 conceded. No other nation had ever won 5 World Cups before that night, and the way they did it made it even more remarkable. Luis Felipe Scolari set them up in a 3-4-2-1 that was genuinely difficult to play against. 3 center-backs gave them defensive solidity, while the 2 players behind the striker had complete freedom to create. It protected the team without restricting the attackers, and that balance was the foundation of everything. But systems only work when you have the players to run them. And Brazil, in 2002, had players that most nations could only dream about. Ronaldo Nazario had spent nearly 2 years on the sidelines with serious knee injuries. He came back and scored 8 goals in 7 games, won the Golden Boot, and put both goals past Germany in the final. Rivaldo was just as important. 5 goals, constant creativity, and a level of consistency across every game that often gets forgotten when people talk about that tournament. And then there was Ronaldinho, still young but already unplayable, whose free kick against England in the quarterfinals is still one of the most iconic moments in World Cup history. Outside of those 3, Cafu and Roberto Carlos were the best fullback pair in the world playing at the same time. And Gilberto Silva sat quietly behind everyone, winning the ball and passing it simply, giving every attacking player around him the freedom to take risks. He was the reason that team could attack the way they did. Since that night in Yokohama, Brazil have not come close. 2006, quarterfinals. 2010, quarterfinals. 2014, they hosted it, reached the semifinals, and were beaten 7-1 by Germany in one of the most painful nights in Brazilian football history. 2018, quarterfinals. 2022, quarterfinals. 20 years, 5 quarterfinal exits, and 1 home humiliation. For a country that treats football the way Brazil does, that is not just disappointing, it is genuinely hard to accept. But this 2026 side is totally different. They are a very big threat. Why? Well, they hired a Mafia Ancelotti, and he did not try to copy the 2002 team. Every manager since 2002 made the same mistake. They looked at that Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho team and tried to rebuild it. Find the next great number 9, find the next dribbler, throw them on the pitch and hope the magic comes back. It never did. 20 years of quarterfinal exits and one nightmare in Belo Horizonte proved that copying a memory doesn't win you a World Cup. Ancelotti looked at this completely differently. He didn't ask, how do we become 2002 again? He asked, what do we actually have right now and how do we get the most out of it? That's a small difference on paper, but it changes everything about how you build a team. So instead of starting with star names, he started with structure. He looked at his attacking talent, Cunha, Vinicius, Ryan, Endrick, and instead of just throwing them forward and saying, go entertain us, he built a defensive identity first. Pressing triggers, cover shadows, who closes which passing lane and when. That's not the flashy part of football, but it's the part that decides whether your stars ever get the ball in dangerous areas in the first place. That's the real shift here. 2002 Brazil won with individual genius wrapped in a simple system. This Brazil side is being built the opposite way, a sharp, coordinated system that then lets the individual genius finish the job. Same talent level, completely different foundation. And that foundation is exactly what we saw the moment this team stepped onto the pitch at this World Cup. When you look at the game versus Scotland, Brazil didn't just win, they suffocated a team that had no idea how to breathe. The shape on paper looked like a normal 4-4-2. The shape on the pitch was something else entirely. The moment Brazil lost the ball, it turned into a 4-3-3 built purely to hunt. And the man who made that hunt work was Ryan. Instead of dropping back like a normal winger, Ryan stayed high and pinned Scotland's left center back. That one decision freed up the right back to step forward and choke Scotland's left back without any fear of leaving space behind him. Cunha did the same thing centrally, locking down Scotland's holding midfielder, while Guimarães pushed up to cover the gap. Within seconds, Scotland had nowhere to go. The center backs couldn't find a passing line. The fullbacks were marked tight, and the goalkeeper got swarmed almost immediately by Vinicius, who triggered every single press. Here's what made it so dangerous. It wasn't random chasing. Every player moved like they were connected by string. Vinicius sprints, Cunha shifts inside, Guimarães steps up, Ryan cuts the passing lane with his body. One movement, 4 reactions, all at once. The first goal was built from exactly that pattern. Cunha denied the easy pass. Vinicius charged the keeper. Ryan blocked the lane to Robertson. Scotland's center back had no options left. His pass got intercepted, and Vinicius finished into an empty net. No long build-up, no individual hero ball, just a team that knew exactly where the ball was going before Scotland did. Now flip it around. What happened once Brazil actually had the ball? This is where Cunha became the most interesting player on the pitch. He didn't sit on the last line like a normal striker. He dropped into midfield, drifted wide, popped up between the lines, completely refused to stay still. And that put Scotland's defenders in an impossible spot. Follow him and space opens up behind. Leave him and he turns and runs straight at goal. Either way, Brazil already had the next move ready.
Cunha drops, lays it off to Casemiro. Casemiro doesn't slow it down. He looks forward immediately, searching for Guimarães, making a run into the space Cunha just emptied. Cunha pulls defenders. Casemiro releases. Guimarães attacks the gap. Over and over, the same pattern, different outcome every time. And while all that's happening centrally, Vinicius is doing the opposite job. He's not coming short. He's staying high, stretching the back line, forcing Scotland to keep retreating. One man pulling defenders toward the ball, another pulling them away from it. That contrast is what made Brazil impossible to set up against. When they settled into possession, the shape stretched into something closer to a 3-1-6. One fullback high, the other holding back with the center backs. Casemiro alone in front of the defense, 6 players flooding the final third. Numbers everywhere, but never careless. Lose the ball, and Brazil were already shaped to defend the transition. The second goal showed Paqueta's value in all this. He dropped deep, dragged a center back out of position, and broke Scotland's defensive line before anyone even touched the ball in the box. Casemiro spotted the gap instantly and threaded it to Guimarães. Cunha, who started that move out on the left wing, sprinted the full width of the pitch to arrive in the box and finish it off. 3 different players, 3 different jobs, 1 move. Then came the third goal, and this is the one that should worry every team left in this tournament. Scotland won the ball inside their own box, and instead of resetting, Brazil attacked it instantly. Guimarães closed the midfield. Cunha read the next pass and slid in to win it back. Seconds later, Guimarães picked out Vinicius at the far post, and Brazil had turned a Scottish recovery into another goal. That's the counter press. Lose the ball, and within 3 seconds, 6 players are already hunting it back. This is what makes this Brazil side so different from every version that came before for it. The old Brazil teams gave you moments, one player doing something no one else could. This Brazil team gives you a machine. The pressing is timed, the rotations are rehearsed. Every run creates space for someone else, and every lost ball gets punished before the opponent even realizes it's gone. Talent alone never won Brazil this tournament before. This time, the talent has a system behind it. But it was the Japan game that was a big surprise to me, because for a long stretch of that match, Brazil looked lost. Japan lined up with an extremely wide back three, and that one detail broke Brazil's entire pressing plan. Vinicius stayed central, Cunha dropped to help Guimarães, Ryan tucked in from the right. On paper, a smart setup that gave Casemiro extra cover in midfield. In practice, it left both wings almost completely open, and that's where Paquetá got stuck. Every time Japan played to one of those wide center backs, he had two bad options: stay narrow and protect midfield, and Japan's wingback gets the ball free. Step out and press him, and a massive gap opens right where he used to stand. There was no right choice. Whatever he picked, Brazil paid for it. Casemiro ended up covering ground meant for two players, and Japan kept finding the gaps Brazil's press was supposed to close. Most managers wait until halftime to fix something like this. Ancelotti didn't wait. He tore up the pressing shape mid-game and pushed Brazil into something closer to a 4-2-3-1. Vinicius went back to a normal left wing position. Ryan stretched all the way out to the right touchline. Just like that, Brazil had real width on both sides of the pitch, not just one overworked midfielder trying to cover the whole flank. Japan suddenly couldn't escape through the wings the way they had all game.
But the bigger change was what Ancelotti did with Casemiro. He turned him into two players in one. When Brazil pressed high, Casemiro stayed in midfield. Stepping up the second, Japan tried to play through the middle. But the instant Japan broke that first press, Casemiro dropped straight into the back line, turning Brazil's 4 defenders into 5. Why does that matter? Because Japan attacked with 5 players across their front line. 4 Brazilian defenders against 5 Japanese attackers is a losing fight every time. 5 against 5 is an even one. That single adjustment gave Brazil center backs the confidence to defend aggressively instead of constantly covering for each other. Then Ancelotti made one more change, this time with the ball. Earlier in the match, only Brazil's left back pushed forward, while Danilo on the right stayed deep, almost playing as a third center back. That made Brazil predictable. Japan only had to defend one side seriously. So in the second half, Danilo got told to push high. That one instruction changed the entire shape of Brazil's attack. With Danilo providing the width on the right, Rayon no longer had to hug the touchline. He moved inside, into the gaps between Japan's defenders. Suddenly, Brazil had numbers in the middle of the pitch that Japan simply didn't have markers for. Both fullbacks were now high at the same time. Japan's wingbacks had to keep shifting side to side, something they hadn't been forced to do all game. And a defense that shifts constantly is a defense that eventually cracks. That crack is exactly what gave Brazil their winning goal. Danilo finding space on the right because Japan had run out of bodies to cover every runner. Here's the real takeaway from that match. Brazil didn't win because they suddenly played better individually. They won because their manager spotted a problem in real time and fixed it before it cost them the game. New pressing shape, new job for Casemiro, new width from the fullback. All adjusted live, not planned at home the night before. That's the difference between a coach who manages talent and a coach who controls a match. And it's exactly why, against 2 very different opponents, this Brazil side found 2 very different ways to win. And asides tactics, they've got a very good team. Brazil's 2026 squad is arguably the most complete team in the tournament. At center back, Marquinhos, Gabriel Magalhães, and Bremer give them a perfect mix of leadership, physicality, and world-class defending. In midfield, Casemiro, Bruno Guimarães, and Lucas Paquetá provide experience, control, creativity, and defensive stability. Then comes the attack, where Brazil are simply stacked. Vinicius Jr. is one of the world's most dangerous wingers. Cunha adds goals and creativity. Igor Thiago still brings elite vision and experience. While Endrick, Gabriel Martinelli, Neymar, and Ryan provide incredible depth off the bench. From defense to attack, Brazil have quality at every position, which is exactly why they are one of the favorites to win the 2026 World Cup. But what do you think? Can they win the World Cup? Well, let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe because we are back to posting consistently. Thank you.